Great to have you here, Courtney.
Thanks.
How is life, for starters?
Life's good. I feel like I'm just getting everything done. We start the season really soon, so life is just, nice and chilled at the moment.
You had a good summer?
Had a great summer. I felt like I had a tan. I've definitely lost it now. But no, really, really nice to be in Perth for the majority of it this time.
I mean, what a roller coaster it must have been last season to finish off in the grand final and then such a nail biter and then lose by, what was it, 2 points?
3
points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what a roller coaster. And it must have been a good summer of feeling fulfilled. I mean, what a place to end up, huh?
Yeah, 110%. That grand final still gives me chills to this moment. Walking out, I can remember exactly how many people were there, 13,722 people. So to get to the grand final and just to have it here was huge. So yeah, even though we didn't win, walking away from it and just being proud and literally carrying that all the way through to this new preseason.
And you are rocking it. I mean, just going through your kind of list of achievements, and you're 25 this year, or you're
26 in December, yeah.
MVP, playing for the Diamonds, People's Choice Award. Is there anything else I've missed out on?
No, that's it.
Pretty incredible. Well done for starters.
Thank you.
Know. And do you have your eyes set on these types of things, or has it been quite organic? Are you a goal setter? Do you have these visions and then you get after it? Can you talk to that a bit?
Yeah, definitely a goal setter. I wouldn't goal set for MVP or People's Choice or anything like that. I think they're a product of what I do. I know if I'm playing my best netball, then things like that hopefully would come my way. It's not something that I hope that comes, but it does, which is fantastic. But yeah, for me, I'm definitely little process goals, break it all down, know what the dream would be. So, either definitely to make another grand final this year and to play World Cup for Diamonds, and then just break down how I have to get there. So what little things I need to tick off along the way. I'm definitely, if I look too big picture, it just overwhelms me. So the easier to break it down, the better it goes for me.
Totally. And do you have any, I mean, you've got your training, of course, with the team, but do you personally have any kind of rituals or practices you do to get your mind right?
Yeah, I definitely do. I have some game day. Your brother Cam has actually helped me with these.
Yeah, Cam.
So we do some fire breathing pre-game, which has been really helpful, I guess. Not so much for fever anymore. I don't get as nervous. I've been at the club now for 8 years, so I understand game day, so it doesn't make me as nervous. So trying to get my adrenaline levels up to play a game. So working on those things on pre-game. But I think being captain and working through all the extra things that come with that, for me, it's been able to just stepping away and finding some time to be mindful or meditate. Cam is very good at reminding me / helping me in that space. So definitely trying to find that space between netball to help me relax and calm down, because it can be all consuming sometimes.
Totally. And the breathing is the key. Just trying with thought alone to get the mind quiet, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. It's kind of like trying to fall asleep, really trying, and it just doesn't work. So having some of those practices of working with the breath is crucial. You mentioned fire breathing for either people that haven't done yoga or breath work or just haven't heard of fire breathing. How could you describe that for people that haven't been in touch? What are you doing with that?
Yeah, I still don't think I'm that great at it yet. Okay. But Cam has describes as breathing really shallow, really trying to have some, I guess he kind of describes it as having anger behind it, trying to fire yourself up, find that energy in it, just trying to get yourself into that optimal performance zone. So really breathing quite heavily and feeling it, and then using that, I guess, that adrenaline to then push through whatever you're coming up against or about to do.
Yeah, I think you put that well. I mean, there's quite a few different ways to do it and different techniques, and what's become popularized is the Wim Hof Technique, which is a take on some of these Kundalini breath exercises. But for one, it's alkalizing. So when we're in stressed out state, we become acidic and we enter our sympathetic nervous system. So pumping the breath helps us then shift into the parasympathetic nervous system. It alkalizes the body. And then once the nervous system is like, you could say like, it's kind of like churning it up and any of the tension gets converted into more of a restful, quiet state. And then it's so much easier to be present and calm. And I was talking a lot about that with Josh Kennedy yesterday, like his pre-game rituals, and he often floats the day before or the day of. And again, like a lot of athletes coming from like the old, you could say paradigm, the old way of just like, you guys have #GotGrit. Yeah. It's kind of like the old grit of like just like
get through it,
grunt your jaw and just tense, and it's very dysfunctional. So it seems like a lot of elite athletes are tuning into a deeper grit, a deeper flow type state. So whether it's the breath work or floating or meditating, it seems to be coming into like, you could say, the mainstream of how effective and how potent it is to get the mind really quiet and connect on a psychological level even before the physical. How much would you say like the mind is a part of your success? The training is one thing, but how much would you say on like a percentile?
Gosh, I reckon like 80-20 for sure. It's definitely something that I never had right in the past. I was probably training my butt off and getting nowhere, but definitely I reckon over the last 2 years I've learned that your mind plays a huge role in performing, but like pushing through training and all those little things. So I definitely think there's definitely been a huge push I've seen even from like the Aussie sides and Fever to find that real deep flow, that mindfulness, that place away from the core, because if you can get that right, then the performance takes care of itself. So I reckon 80-20, 110%.
Huge. And I've heard you speak a little bit about growing up being a nervous kid. Yeah. So naturally you're quite nervous. Do you still, when you step out onto the court, experience a lot of nervousness? Because it doesn't look like it. You're smiling most of the time. And it looks quite effortless. But do you get nervous still?
Oh, I don't get nervous to play. Definitely not for Fever. For Diamonds, I still do. I think because it's still so fresh. Definitely, was a nervous kid growing up. And nerves did used to get the better of me when I was coming probably through like my 17s, 19s, 21s. Now I feel a lot more ownership in who I am and owning my performance and the person that I want to be. So I think the nerves just take care of themselves. Sometimes I do wish I was a little bit more nervous on game day because I do think it helps pump me up.
Interesting.
But I think I've got a good balance these days compared to the past.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. You wish you had a bit more nervousness. I like that. Well, I guess you can just keep pushing it, keep pushing the envelope, and that, I think that is super beneficial for people, like intentionally pushing the envelope, intentionally getting into those situations that make us nearly shit our pants in nervousness, I grew up being a very nervous kid as well. And a lot of people are kind of surprised when I say that, because I was in positions of leadership roles and public speaking and all that. And apparently it didn't come off nervous, but I was shitting my pants, so nervous. And it was disabling. Like it would cripple me, and I'd be sweating and it'd be so uncomfortable. And I remember one day, like in my late teens, of just like being fed up with being nervous. I remember like just starting to witness the bullshit of it and going, all right, time to end it. And I wasn't doing yoga yet, but something was kicking in of no longer quite believing the nervousness of like, okay, holy shit, all this nervousness and it's so melodramatic and so full on. I'm going to start to work with this a bit. And that was kind of the beginning of a journey of no longer just buying into the nervousness. And I think that's a helpful shift because we have our comfort zones where it's so easy in our culture to kind of create the comfort zone, do nothing that makes us nervous anymore or uncomfortable, and just stay in that uncomfortable but comfortable zone. So to intentionally jump into that discomfort zone, have some kind of tool that allows you to either breathe through it, whether it's breath of fire or something to shift the nervousness, because a lot of us just aren't taught it. I definitely wasn't, and it just kind of happened by accident. Until that point, it was just like kind of avoid anything that makes you uncomfortable, push it away, and then like cling to the comforts of life. That was my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty common, and especially like in our affluent society where we can just hop on TV and hop on computer games and just kind of idolize people like yourself of like, okay, they're awesome and they got something special and they're rocking it, but I'll just watch it on the TV and participate. And so kind of you've of course got a lot of younger fans as well as older, but a lot of younger. Could we, like, if they're listening, like aim conversation at them, like maybe they're playing netball and whether they're excelling or not, but nervousness is just getting them. Speak to that real discomfort and encouraging that it's so worth it to step into that. So being a nervous kid, could you kind of go back to that experience and really like speak to that and encourage that it's so worth it, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I think the work I've done with our psych in the past, she's always put in a really good way for me. She always says, Court, do you want to live a linear life where nothing goes wrong, or a life that's up and down? Which one would you choose? And I always say the life up and down, because in the linear line, you're just living within your comfort zone. You don't get to experience the highs and lows of life. And I guess if you're not experiencing those, are you really living to your true potential? And I guess for me, that was that kind of flipping point for me in terms of, I guess, my nervousness, but a little bit of my anxiety too, was saying, okay, life's going to go up and down, but it's about riding those waves. And if you ride those waves, and you're going to get the best of both worlds, and you're not going to stay within your comfort zone. And that was something that really flipped for me. But I do wish that sometimes I knew that as a kid, because I think, exactly what you said, you get stuck in patterns. Parents just see it as an attribute. You're just nervous. It's fine. Something that you'll work through. But I do think that it's something that we can definitely work to enable younger girls and boys to see that it is something that you can work on and change, and it doesn't have to be as debilitating as some people do find it. But yeah, definitely working out that, life has its highs and lows, and it's better to ride them than to just stay comfortable.
Couldn't agree more. Well put. And yeah, it's an interesting trait we have where often it's not in retrospect, looking back, and like kind of like you're looking back, like I kind of miss being nervous. I wish I was nervous more now. Yet at the time it was probably shit. You probably didn't want to feel nervous. It's so uncomfortable. Yet pretty much always we look back at those really uncomfortable times and see how rich it was. But it's very interesting how tricky it is to see it in the moment, those challenging low moments of seeing the beauty in it and how much it is a part in our growth and development and our unfoldment of who we truly are and what we're truly capable of. It does seem like a mindfulness practice or some kind of practice of slowing down the mind so we're able to observe rather than just react. Because that's the thing, when we're just in it and reacting, it's just like, get me out of this uncomfortable situation and get me back into something that's comfortable. And that's kind of a survival mechanism, that fight or flight, get me out. I think just many of us, if we go like untrained, if we're not training the mind, if we're not training the body just appropriately, that fight or flight is just so convincing and just get me out of the discomfort, get me back to what's good. So it is really cool that more people in the kind of spotlight like yourself and in the kind of mainstream of elite sport are speaking about this type of stuff more, and like the mental health stuff, which I know you've got some passion towards as well. Because again, what we've seen in the past, especially, it keeps coming up with athletes that I have conversations with, that heavy predicament that athletes have had and still do but it's getting more light shining upon it of that issue of not having the tools of riding the roller coaster of the highs and lows, and so much adrenaline and so much focus on achievement and the scrutiny and meeting the measures and whatnot. And then after retirement, like if they haven't had the mindfulness or the tools or the support, it must just be a huge crash, a huge withdrawal that must be really challenging to manage. So it'd be cool to just continue the conversation on that mental health issue, in which if these younger athletes coming into elite competition, or not even elite, it happens in any role. It just seems to be, of course, magnified in the media and whatnot, of these elite athletes that have had such deep struggle. So how are you seeing the kind of mental health aspect and the support in that in the realm of netball?
Yeah, I think that we're pretty lucky in the netball realm. I think if you compare us to like an AFL, we're lucky that in the sense that I think because we've had so little, there's been such an emphasis on making sure that one, we're set after our netball career is done. So we've got either like a work or a uni, but we're also really big in that well-being sector. So I think definitely Diamonds are a leader in this space, and we have well-being evenings and mornings while we're away on Australian tours, which is fantastic. And there's a real big emphasis on making sure that as long as we're doing well off the court, like I said before, the on-court performance will take care of it itself. I think that also we're pretty lucky in that the AIS have just done some big mental health audits, and they have found some staggering numbers actually that elite athletes are struggling a lot at the moment with mental health. But I do believe that, I think particularly in women's sport, there is a lot put in place to help us. I guess there's less of a stigma against a woman speaking up compared to a male. But I know even personally for myself, like I've dealt with anxiety, and still that stigma was there for me. Does it make me weak as an athlete? Does it make me not as strong as my other competitors? There's lots of, I guess, little factors that played into my mindset around I knew I had to seek help for it, but how do I go about telling my coach about it? And I guess we're really lucky at Fever too. We have a great wellbeing manager and psych in Jody, and Stacey Marinkovic is more open than anyone to come and talk to her about any struggles that you are having. So I think for me, particularly in this environment, we're very lucky, but we are seeing it out there a lot more. And I think it's great that people are out there and speaking about it, because I think the more we speak about it, obviously the more a stigma breaks down and it becomes the norm. It's not something that's out on left field by itself. So I think it's definitely something that it's obviously sad that it's been spoken about more, but it's also opening doors, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a lot of issues in the world. A lot of these issues that used to get swept under the rug are in the forefront of conversation. So yeah, it's all good and it's necessary. And I really do hope it helps the young ones coming up to feel totally at ease. I mean, it's just absurd how much shit used to just get swept under the rug and ignored. Definitely. So yeah, lots of good signs.
And I think it proves that we're put on pedestals, so we're not superheroes. We all have our weaknesses, and obviously we have our strengths, but it's our weaknesses that make us human, and people can relate to them. So I guess that's like, from my perspective, if I can get out there and openly speak about it, then if that means that one girl or boy relates to it, then in my perspective, that's my job.
Yeah, that is really cool. And what just came to me then, I'm often bagging on social media because there are a lot of negative issues that are being cultivated from social media, like toxicity. But one thing that just came to me then is seeing people such as yourself in a very human way. Whereas I think before, elite athletes such as yourself had social media accounts and just made it very human, very personable. These elite athletes used to seem, like superheroes, which they are, but kind of unattainable, superheroes that didn't have kind of the human experience like we do. So these conversations and doing social media in kind of tasteful and just relatable ways seems to be really good. Again, I'm often bagging on social media, but I am seeing a lot of that positivity in which, people such as yourself are really being great role models and honest, like just speaking honestly about your human experience. And then you can get after it and do what you do and excel at the same time, see the kind of humanness of it and the relatability to it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think it is, I agree. I think it can be a toxic place. But I think I've seen the same shift that people are being more, especially in my role, more true to who they are and willing to share their stories. And I think, it just opens the door to allow, others to step in and understand from both perspectives what you see as a fantastic world is not always that fantastic to be in. You always think the grass is greener on the other side, but I think it really opens the doors to show that we're both living lives with highs and lows, and we go through the same things.
Totally. And you're studying right now as well, yeah?
Well, yeah, I should be. I'm not at the moment.
Okay.
I'm not back this semester.
Right. So you should be part-time, yeah?
Yeah.
Psychology?
Yeah.
Cool. How is that going?
Yeah, it's going well. It's going quite slowly, but I am really enjoying it. It's definitely a space that I think there is a lot of growth still to go in the whole world. My dream would to definitely be to work with kids. In what capacity, I don't really know yet, but really enjoying it, and I guess learning, from my own perspective and experience of how the brain and the mind does work and what we can do to change and alter it. But I guess also, from a sports perspective too, it's really, really interesting and really enjoying it.
Can you see yourself continuing? I mean, you're still in your thriving kind of young years of your career, but can you see yourself working in that more mind field, psychological field in the sport arena after you retire?
Yeah, I've thought about it in the sport. I don't know. I think it would be too close to comfort potentially. I think it'd be obviously awesome to work with elite athletes, but I think my calling, I love kids. I think I'm great with kids. So if I could do something in the sports field with kids when they're younger to impact the way that they think, feel, act by the time they get to my age, I think that would be my real area that I'd want to focus on.
Awesome. We'll check in with that when you've finished your degree and
10 years time.
Retire. Yeah. And you have quite a passion for getting in the supporting Indigenous communities, yeah?
Yeah,
What's your experience been like with that?
Yeah, it's been amazing. So West Coast Fever have a charity partner called Shooting Stars. So I've been quite lucky. There's 3 ambassadors. So myself, Vez and Janelle. So we're lucky enough to get sent all over WA to hang out with these girls. So basically they just use netball as a vehicle. So if you go to school, you get to play netball. If you don't go to school, you don't play netball.
Oh,
so really trying to get the girls back into school and increasing their attendance and just their overall outlook on life. But I've been lucky enough to go up to the Kimberleys twice now and went up to a leadership camp in Lombardina, which is about 5 hours up from Broome, and just spent a quality week with the girls, just learning about their culture, their struggles, but also I reckon I learnt just as much from the girls. They're just fantastic humans. They've obviously a lot of them have been through a lot of things, but just their outlook on life is just beautiful. But I'm really enjoying helping, them see that there's, some strengths that they can start to use, and be a driver in their own culture for what they want to see the future look like for themselves out there.
Good. Yeah, that is beautiful. Have you had much to do with more local communities around Perth or more up north?
Yeah, so I've mainly only been up north, but I go to try and go to Narrogin once or twice a term to see the girls there. So Shooting Stars have about, I'm going to get how many sites wrong, maybe 10 or so sites around WA now.
Awesome.
But we're lucky we have like Aboriginal Gala Day in Perth, so we get to hang out with the girls there, and a lot of them are now starting to come down here for school, or they come to the netball games, so you do get to see a lot of them. But I guess Shooting Stars is really aiming on the girls in remote towns to really work on getting their attendance up there.
Great. Yeah, there does seem to be more and more action, more and more shifting and inclusiveness. And it's been a gradual, very slow thing from my perception, but when I zoom out every now and then, at least there are some shifts, definitely a huge difference from when I was a kid or even just from a few years ago and so forth. So it's a beautiful thing. So good on you for diving in and getting involved. And I think we need more and more of that spreading through the communities, but it's happening. So it's beautiful to see.
Oh, thanks.
Cam did give a nice friendly nudge to point out that you have the best calves in the league. Is that a going on conversation?
Oh gosh.
What do you say to write down?
Oh, do we have huge calves?
Yeah. That you have the best calves in the league.
Thanks, Cam. I do have big calves. I do think Vez has stronger calves than me, though. She's got a lot of muscle definition where I've just got huge Berthas on my legs, basically. They, as Cam would say, they help me out a lot. Yeah. So I'm pretty proud of them. Definitely would win a calf off against, I think, anyone in the league.
But Vez has been working on hers.
Vez has been, I think she's a bit jealous, so she's definitely been trying to up her game to catch me, for sure.
Good on you, Cam. We had to slide that in.
Thanks, Camus.
Do you do any like extra supplementing of your training, like beyond the fever training, the diamonds training? Do you do any other things to kind of try to get the edge and biohack, so to speak, or do you kind of just do what is prescribed by the teams?
Definitely more so probably like the last 2 years, I reckon I've been delving into that, to what extras I can do. For like little things, I just do Pilates and yoga with Cammers, and really trying to work on, I think it helps me calm my mind too, just having some me time that's not so go in netball, in the netball space. I guess like just as you said about Josh, I really enjoy floating. I feel like that's been a game changer for me, especially leading into a game or after a really stressful month of being traveling around Australia with the diamonds. So I feel like that's been, definitely a game changer. I feel like I've got a lot more either clarity when I come out, or my body just feels 110% again. So I feel like that, along with the yoga, Pilates, just is really tied into that whole mindfulness space for me. I think that really me trying to own that space has helped my performance. I probably hadn't realised how much until I kind of looked back at the start of this year and said, oh wow, like that was what I was like even at the start of 2018, and now look at me in 2019 and how much growth has happened in that space. Definitely seen that it's helped me get a little bit of an edge over, I think, my competitors for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing that helps one get the edge, learning to relax, learning to connect. I mean, again, even just a few years ago, that possibly it would have been kind of disregarded, I think.
Definitely.
That how could relaxing get me ahead? And again, it's a reoccurring conversation, and often there is resistance that meets that. Again, this old mode of what we thought it took to excel, what we thought it took to really exceed, was that of just pure tension. So I often do meet people meeting up against like floating or meditating or just quietening with resistance, and often admitting, like especially people that are really excelling, whether it's an elite athlete or a CEO or a CFO, admitting that, holy shit, like I'm scared to release the tension. I'm scared to release my anxiety out of the fear that I won't actually be motivated to get up in the morning and excel. And I've met many people that have actually admitted that. People that are really successful, really driven, that they haven't quite learned how to relax yet. And it takes consistency and commitment, because that initial shift of gears, so to speak, of relaxing into the parasympathetic nervous system, a lot of people never have. Never have. They've had a stressful childhood, they've worked hard and been stressed in school, and then they've kind of kept that fight or flight momentum. And often if they haven't experienced it, the initial experience of relaxing and quietening the mind is scary like crazy, which is really interesting. Because if one doesn't have like, I don't know, a psych or a coach or something to either reinforce it or guide and be able to speak through those processes, I think a lot of people would just go, fuck, this isn't for me. This is shit. And Josh and I, again, were talking about the thing of boredom. Because in our current age with the phone and all that, a lot of people don't allow themselves to get bored anymore.
Yeah.
There's like that first impulse of boredom, and then we pick up the phone. That first impulse of boredom, and then we flick through 100 different songs in a minute or something like that, and it's kind of dulled our mind. So for one to, in the modern day, like intentionally get bored, really. It's like, why would I get bored? I've got millions of things to not get bored. So we explored that, and it seems quite an important thing, because to delve into that deep zone state, that quietness, I think many people first have to meet up against that resistance of boredom and that unfamiliar shift of gears from constantly thinking, constantly tense, to it's not just from there into deep relaxation. I think it can be.
Yeah.
But for many, it's a whole lot of gear shifts of unfamiliar territory and unknown and discomfort and boredom before finally relaxing.
Definitely. Yeah. And I was actually saying to Cameras the other day that for me, probably over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've noticed that there's been a shift in me in terms of that space. And I was saying my comfort zone used to be that real tense, anxious area where, I just knew I'd get things done. It was how I kind of functioned. And I said to Cam, I feel like the last 2 weeks there's been a big flip, and I'm more in that calm, relaxed, comfortable space, which to me doesn't actually feel very comfortable. And it's been me actually having to accept that this is potentially my new norm, and that's where I'm going to get the best out of myself. But it is like being in this space right now, it's quite interesting to feel, I said, even like trying to keep myself out there and help bring the team up to where I'm at. My natural tendency is just to take myself back down to where I feel more comfortable, but I know that I'm not going to get my best performance as a captain, but also as a player out there. And it's been an interesting shift to kind of work through, because I do think that we tend to self-sabotage too. And even like catching myself been doing having those thinking patterns, or I guess going down a path that I know will lead me back there, but trying to choose to stay, I guess, in a higher, better place has been, a real interesting space for the last couple of weeks.
That's really cool. So what is comfortable and familiar for you is a tense place, a nervous kind of place.
Definitely.
And you did touch upon like you kind of miss being nervous in a game. I don't know if that's how you said it, but along those lines. So you're navigating this new way of being a leader, of being motivated and driven from a different space.
Yeah,
how cool.
Really
but
interesting.
Kind of scary.
Scary,
huh?
yeah. Definitely. I said to Gam yesterday, I was like, it's quite scary. I don't know how do you necessarily stay in this space, but it's exciting at the same time.
Yeah, so that kind of goes in line with what I was saying with these other leaders and people really excelling that I've met along the way, of like them coming to the realization or the contemplation of how am I going to do it, how I've been doing it without this anxiety, without this tension. And it is the unknown. It's this like new leap of growth and development, and it's exciting but scary. So it's another one of those times to kind of leap into it.
Yeah.
So what do you feel will be a motivating factor or part in this new way of being a leader, this new way of really rocking it from this new space that you're cultivating, or is it kind of unknown?
I think it's still kind of unknown at the moment. But I think, like, obviously most people do, but we work in an area where there's like constant feedback. So I think for me, hearing that positive feedback from the girls will obviously keep motivating me to stay in that space. And obviously them seeing the changes and I guess even the improvements in the leadership space, and hopefully by them articulating that, then I go, yep, okay, this is what they enjoy. This is what I feel comfortable now. Now I get to own it. But I still think, there's quite a bit of a unknown for me. Yeah, like you said, it does make me quite scared because I don't know. I could fail, I could crash, but I also could rise, and you never know unless you put yourself in there and find what actually does work for me. So I definitely think sometimes you've got to be uncomfortable, and I think that's where I definitely know for me the last couple of years that the more times I've been uncomfortable, the more times that I've grown and ticked a goal off my list.
Really cool. And I mean, as you're studying the mind and the kind of neuroplasticity of the mind and that ability to create new ways, new habits, new pathways, and you're doing that and being at this awesome age of 25, like it's such a cool time to be going like deep in many ways, like you are, and really excelling, but kind of contemplating and bringing in the meditative, mindful aspects of it as well. Because there is this common kind of crossroads point a lot of people come to in their kind of late 20s, 27 kind of thing. It's sometimes regarded like quarter life crisis, or Saturn returns, Saturn cycle. And I think even for people listening that aren't playing sport, aren't competing, can relate to that discomfort that comes with growth and development, that when you're changing, even if you're changing for the better, and you can feel this feels better, but everything's going to be different, can relate to that. And to hear you kind of be honest with that is really cool. And we should check in like in another year or two and like see where you're at, because like it would be tricky, especially being in the position you're at, like the scrutiny you can get under. Like if people are giving like negative feedback, like Courtney, you're being too calm.
Yeah.
You need to be louder. And like sometimes people can miss how you used to be for anyone. Like I've had it before when I started to change for the good. Some old mates would be like, man, I miss how you used to be, like, and would miss old ways, which is another interesting kind of tribal tendency. When one changes, often the tribe, so to speak, misses the old ways, the old Stu, the old Courtneys. So that'll be interesting, being in the captain seat and having the voice and having that leadership energy from this new calm space that you're cultivating. It's exciting.
Yeah. No, it is really exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I guess, like I said, I've had lots of great feedback thus far, so it'll be interesting to see even over the next 6 months when we start the season where it ends up. But I think the most exciting part for me is that I feel like I'm obviously taking this journey, but I think like as a team, there's also a lot of girls taking this same kind of journey with me. So it's a really interesting space to see how much, I guess, it affects the team's dynamic and output in the end, which will be very exciting.
Yeah, and I think it is a bit of a kind of microcosm of the macrocosm of like of what is possible. Like in one can be very present, very connected, very honest, kind of vulnerable, and still get after it and rock it. Yeah. Yet again, I think it used to be either it wasn't seen or spoken about, but I think there was a facade. It was a kind of an ego trip, which possibly is part of the common kind of come down, the crashing after the event, after the grand final, after you retire, after the big high. So it seems very likely that with this deeper connection, that there doesn't have to be that huge crash after things change, after you retire, after whatever, if you're injured or whatever. And again, whatever role people are in, people often come against that kind of identity crisis, that crisis point, whether it be a mother or a father. A lot of middle-aged men go through it. They've been working this job and grinding it for quite a while, and then all of a sudden either these younger people are starting to take over their jobs and they're not learning the information as quick and maybe forced into early retirement. And there's this epidemic of identity crisis, depression, anxiety. So I think anyone can relate to this conversation of when shit changes.
Yeah.
How we can change with that and keep refining the tools to adapt and excel and do what we can. At the same time going with our natural growth and development. Because I think for a long time, people just it was kind of the norm to not really change much your whole life. You know, you have your upbringing, you go to school, you get your education, you do your thing, and then you kind of just keep doing it, and then you don't. But I think what's going on now is people are getting more and more accustomed to those ebbs and flows, the quarter-life crisis, the midlife crisis. I think one of the main things that is lacking a lot of is not only that support for post-retirement, but then that next transition into elderly age. You know, there's not much conversation and support around that. So yeah, it's really cool to see conversations around Indigenous support, the mental health support, and then it seems to be spreading into all of these corners of society that for so long have kind of been put behind walls, put behind kind of ignorant walls.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think I've definitely seen a shift even potentially in a lot of my friends. I think, you know, they always used to say, oh, Court, you've got a huge growth mindset. And I think that's obviously because of helps that I play elite sport. We're always looking for the next thing. But I've definitely seen a shift even amongst my friends of going, okay, my identity isn't just my job. It's who I am, you know, when I'm with my partner or by myself or with my family, and being able to break that identity up into little bits, because obviously you're not just one person. I'm not just Courtney Bruce, the netballer. And I've definitely seen that shift among all my friends over the last, I reckon, 2 years to go, okay, there is more to life than just the role that I am playing currently, which has been, really exciting to see, even in someone that's not in the same environment as myself.
Totally. And for anyone, but again, someone in your position, that can only really benefit and excel your performance. When often the metaphor is that of like a poker player or a chess player, where a lot of it is to do with body language. And if a chess or a poker player is taking the game too seriously and they're wrapped up in their identity of needing to win or whatever it may be, they'll lose. It's clearly visible. So part of being a good chess player or poker player is relaxing into the game, not taking the game so seriously. And it's just a game. So it seems to really rock it, I think, in a sustainable way, in a way that is good for your mental health as well. Yeah, it's just that. Like, who am I beyond my role? And it seems to be tricky for athletes that continue to really excel, because unless you've got awesome parents that have more of a mindful or spiritual languaging, your whole support network might be reinforcing that identification.
Yeah.
And it could be in good ways. And like, you're awesome, you keep winning, you got all these medals, and like, could be in great affirmative ways. But then if you fuck up, it's like, so much stress.
Yeah, your life is over.
Yeah. Yet if there is that deeper mindfulness or heart connection, whatever we want to call it, of like, who am I beyond my role? Even if I've been achieving like crazy, who am I beyond my achievements? Is only good, is only beneficial. And then you can be like that skillful judo player or chess player where you're not taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
Alan Watts used to put it like, taking life sincerely but not so seriously. That kind of sincerity but not the tense
yeah.
seriousness. And then, again, the highs and lows, which is kind of a theme of our conversation. It's kind of the ultimate way to navigate the highs and lows. Again, whether you're whatever role, we're a society that heavily identifies with our roles. And it's driving us mad if we don't connect with who we truly are beyond our roles. Again, that's one of the more negative aspects of social media, because like people are putting in all this time and energy, especially for the younger kids. There's this whole thing of like, I am my social media image. So like on top of like, I am my achievements, or I am my lack of achievements, whatever way it is. I am this role, I am that role. This whole new thing of like, I am my social media image. And then this crazy new territory of the mind and nervous system getting overwhelmed with this whole social media thing. That, it seems like we need a bit of an instruction manual of bringing in like identification, navigation with this whole realm. And as that continues to go wherever it goes, it seems kind of critical that we connect with who am I beyond all this surface stuff.
I totally agree. You definitely can get caught up in it. I see young girls even now getting caught up in it. I think you literally nailed it on the head. It's a bit of a scary place if we continue to let it shape who we are, when we all know that an Instagram photo or video doesn't show anyone the true sides to who you are. Yeah.
And it's a trip because like, even if it looks perfect and like that person's life looks perfect and they've got the life, like you meet up with them, you have a conversation like this, they got their shit going on as well. They got their highs and lows. And some people communicate that really well, like we touched upon briefly, communicate that really well through their social media and like display an actual life. But for the most part, it is confusing the shit out of our mind and our nervous system. And I feel that even in myself. Like if it's one of those days where I pick up my phone too early, like I really try not to, but some days, especially if I need to get up early and it's busy, and pick up my phone too early, and I can just feel it throw off my mind and nervous system, even though I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
So like for those that especially aren't aware of it and just like plug straight in and maybe don't have the discipline or the mindfulness or awareness practice to see the insanity of it. It's interesting times with all that, So again, with these younger kids maybe watching you or listening to this, and at the very least, I hope it shines that light of connecting with who we truly are, that beautiful balance of, setting those goals and those visions and aspiring to just rock it and hit those goals at the same time. I'm not my goals. I'm not my role. I'm none of it. Like, who am I? Who am I truly?
And then own who you are.
Yeah. And the relaxation practices are crucial for that, because we can't actually think about it. That's the tricky thing. Like, we can't think, who am I? It's more like contemplating, who am I? And then all we can do is relax into it. Often the metaphor I like to think of is like swimming in the ocean, like it takes effort if there's waves and chops, and to swim and navigate the waters and the rips and have some knowledge. You got to try, but then you want to be able to float as well and kick back. So again, that ability to do it as best as you can, and then kick back and relax. Do you feel like that is a part of your your balance in getting after it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely have a better ability of, I think we kind of describe it as like leaving your shit at the door, and both ways. So you're obviously coming into training, leaving whatever is with you at the door, training, and then either leaving that training at the door and going home. And I think I definitely have a way better balance in going that whatever happened at training doesn't define who I am as a person, a leader or a player, and that I don't take it home with me or try not to take it home with me. It's easier said than done sometimes. But I definitely have found that it's helped me balance and then be able to define who I am away from the core 110%.
Cool. With a whole lot of chocolate and tea in front of us. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition before we bring it full circle and wrap it up. Do you pay much attention to nutrition, how you feed your body?
Yeah, I do. I do think I'm a bit of a fussy eater.
Okay. But explain where you're at with it right now.
I definitely have had a bigger shift in the last year or so. Particularly since coming into the Diamonds environment. I think there's a bigger emphasis on trying to, find food and a way to fuel yourself to best perform. I think I finally found what works for me on game day, pre-training, but then I guess also ways to help me relax pre-going to bed. So I think I found a good balance in having I love a batch of tea before I go to bed to help me really wind down. But I guess in terms of performance, exactly what I need to eat to know that what my body, so I know I can get the best out of my body every time I hit the court, which is something I definitely didn't have even, I reckon, a year ago. I think it took a lot of conscious effort to define what that is and how it works.
Yeah, that's pretty important to touch upon, actually, that everybody is different, and to kind of experiment with what actually works for me, because fads come and go, and I think people like to have that set formula, like what works for her, what works for him, and try to adapt that into a plan, which I think can be good. Then it's good to have a bit more intelligence and contemplation and intuition and feeling into what is that optimum fuel. But can you describe, so say it's game day, can you describe a day of eating again for maybe younger listeners that are okay, how can they experiment with to get the body ready for that awesome game?
Yeah, so I'm pretty set on game day of exactly what I eat. Okay. So I love a smashed avo. So I have smashed avo with eggs for brekkie. I find it just it's something that I think for me, it's a good feel kind of food. I always feel great after it, but it's obviously got, I need to eat a lot of carbs pre-game. So it's obviously got the carbs and everything that I need. And we usually play at 7. So
you do have carbs with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. On toast. Yeah.
Right.
And then for me, it's just, I will try and leave, I guess, a bigger gap between eating. We usually play at 6 o'clock, so have a really later lunch before I get to the court, which is something usually still quite big, so a big brown rice kind of salad and a smoothie. And then when I get to the courts, I've been taking gelatin pre-game. For me, I've got some tendon issues, so that's been helping a huge amount. Then really just, I guess, my key factor that I've learnt that I 110% have to do is be hydrated. My body just does not, I don't know, everyone's body doesn't function, but I have a huge tendency to cramp. So making sure that I've got enough fuel, I guess, in my muscles pre-game, and then, trying to get through that 60 minutes. So mine's definitely about trying to, I guess, carb load leading in, but more lighter foods than anything. I'm definitely not one to have a big pizza or a pasta pre-game or even the night before. I know it just doesn't work for my body.
Cool. And do you guys do the kind of glucose thing during the game, like snack on candy, lollies and stuff like that, or is that old school?
Some of the girls do. Yeah. Depends who you are. We're very individual. I have gel shots, so just the liquid liquid gel to help stop any cramping, and I actually have pickle juice if I feel that coming on at half time.
Pickle juice.
I've
never heard that.
I really enjoy it. It's something, the taste stops the muscle cramping, but I think if you enjoy it, it doesn't work as well. And I really enjoy pickles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have not heard that. So if you don't enjoy it,
I could be wrong,
has a
but
response.
I think it is. I could be wrong with that though. I definitely still think it works. It's something, at the moment that you feel the cramp, you're meant to take it. So
good to know.
Something I've been trying at halftime if my body needs it, but I do really enjoy it these days, so it doesn't bother me as much. Yeah. And then, sometimes the gels have a caffeine supplement in it, depending on where I feel my adrenaline kind of levels are at in terms of performance. So, yeah.
Can you, I'm still on the pickle juice. Can you find that in shops, or do you juice it yourself, or do you have like a team pickle juicer?
We can find it in shops. Cameras and Liam are all over that one.
I'm surprised I have not come across that.
Yeah, no. Pickle juice, so we used to do beetroot juice pre-game, which I think everyone knows about the beetroot, but that's been a while. We haven't done that in a long time. But yeah, pickle juice is the new thing.
I love it. All right. I'm surprised Cam has not brought over the pickle juice in our handstand sessions.
Oh, yes, the cramps, true.
Yeah. What about a relaxed day off? Do you have quote unquote cheat days? Do you have a favorite kind of cheat meal or anything like that?
No, I don't think I have cheat days. I definitely think I've learnt that whatever I'm feeling to have, I know that if I don't, then I'm just going to go eat it 100 times over in another setting. So, my favorite kind of cheat meal, I don't know, would probably be, I really just like chocolate. Yeah. So I feel like that's my go-to.
Healthy chocolate like this, or do you get into the
I really enjoy white chocolate. I think that's where my weakness really lies. But I definitely kind of do know now that I definitely have an emotional connection to it, which I think a lot of people do too. But I think I'm more aware of, if I feel like I'm needing it, it's usually because I'm feeling either a bit up or down either way. But that would definitely be my go-to kind of cheat-ish meal. Other than that, I've just, if I was a normal non-training day, I feel like I just like light food. So if it's a smoothie bowl, really like light salad, the girls in the team would say they could tell everyone exactly what I eat in the day, because I like the similar things, but yeah, just nothing heavy or full of cream or sauce. It just doesn't do it for me. Yeah, I like to feel fresh and light in my body.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of different views on the whole carb thing now. I've been hearing from some athletes that they're doing the keto thing, the real low carb thing, even on game day, and they're finding that that's working for them. So that'll be interesting in the long term. The carb situation, I definitely thrive more if I'm exerting a lot of energy. I'm going to want to consume some carbs. Yeah. But I've been hearing from more and more people that they've been able to thrive without the carbs, and they can just have that good amount of protein and fat and rock it. But again, everybody's different, and it's good to tune into what works for you. Huh?
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, let's wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to bring to the table, literally and figuratively, or subject-wise? Is there anything else you want to bring into the convo?
I think we're pretty good. I think every time you came up with something, I was onto it with something new. Yeah,
great. So good to chat, Courtney.
Pretty happy. Yeah, no, it was good to chat too.
Yeah, and how can people get in touch? You've got your Instagram. Is that the main?
Yeah, my Instagram. I was I wouldn't even know what my handle or anything is.
I'll leave a link below anyway, and people can just click on it.
Instagram for sure.
I love keeping it up to date with what you're up to. Very inspiring. So listeners, get on touch. I'll leave links below to Courtney's Instagram, and I'm excited for the season ahead. Good luck.
Thank you. Me too. And
blessings, and I hope the new way, the new balance, the new calm has a potent effect. And I'll be there. I'm a fan. Perfect. I had so much fun getting to the games last year and watching you all shine. It was really beautiful. So I look forward to getting down lots this upcoming season, and much luck and all the best. Huh?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. Much love.